They're changing my voice. This part is very key here. It is about Burroughs' magical beliefs. Okay, again, Burroughs went to Harvard, wrote a lot of books and made a lot of appearances in films. So this guy had a strong network. Okay, a bunch of people following him like the other Hollywood cults. Burroughs is like as influential as Crowley in Hollywood or something. It's something comparable. Okay, so what did he believe? Why the Crowley and all these guys who were like him, OTO, Golden Dawn, all these groups that are famous for influencing Hollywood, and Crowley on the Beatles album or whatever. What did this guy believe in regards to magic? Okay, what is his core number one belief? What is the underlying assumption of magic according to Burroughs? We'll get to that. So Burroughs had a long-standing preoccupation with magic and the occult dating from his earliest childhood, and was insistent throughout his life that we live in a magical universe, as he himself explained. So he's insisting that you live in a kind of magical universe where your sexual relations especially, okay, obviously, he was even a junkie, he's around all these sex cults in Hollywood, are very much part of the magical universe, right? He doesn't want people like me who live in reality to get attractive women, right? He's from that kind of crowd. It's like it said in the Shaka Zulu movie, or series on the BBC series. He said, to Shaka, that the white man deals in illusion. You have taught us to live in reality. So this is before Burroughs. The white man has acknowledged in his popular culture that he deals in theater arts, in illusion, and psychology, and propaganda, that his churches and stuff aren't about reality. If you really look at the abundance of evidence, you see that these church guys, they started the Baptist and Jehovah's Witness and on and on and on. Just like the Catholics, these weren't sincere guys. None of these church groups are sincere. Okay, and logically, because of the way the Jews and the white man go hand in hand, logically none of these synagogues are sincere. And then kind of by extension, right, by the extension of the bad tree bearing bad fruit, we can say that the mosques are not sincere as well. No offense to anyone, if you don't agree with me, go and put in the comments, but this is what the evidence screams, to the point where I'm satisfied that it is fair to describe it this way. In the magical universe, there are no coincidences, there are no accidents. Nothing happens unless someone wills it to happen. The dogma of science is that the will cannot possibly affect eternal forces, and I think that's just ridiculous. It is as bad as the church. My viewpoint is the exact contrary of the scientific viewpoint. I believe that if you run into somebody in the street, it is for a reason. Among primitive people, they say that if somebody was bitten by a snake, he was murdered. Okay, and Burroughs is saying that he believed that. He said, quote unquote, I believe that. Okay, I don't believe what this guy believes. Can't be straight enough about that. Can't be straightforward enough, can't say it enough. I do not believe in magic. I believe in reality, and morality means more reality. If someone comes at you from some group trying to get you to prostitute yourself to the left, right, middle, or to their cult, or to their corporate group, their marketing campaign, what have you, their sex club, their fraternity, secret society, social club, whatever it is, to the fucking Boy Scouts, that they're wrong. They're trying to get you to conform to to be a social norm fanatic, and the core of social norms is illusion, right? Magic is illusion. Well, listen carefully. What he's talking about is magic tricks. He doesn't believe that he can wave a magic wand and start flying around. He believes he can trick your mind with psychology and with a massive systems of groups working together, the military, the police, by taking over the institutions that are concerned with social control. And he's part of the eugenic movement, wittingly or otherwise, simply put, but certainly he was aware that what he's doing is affecting reproduction. Okay, he believes in affecting reproduction. He believes in controlling people. Okay, on speaking in the 1970s, since the word magic tends to cause confused thinking, right? It tends to cause confused thinking, right? And that's what Set is, a deity of confusion. And he looks nearly identical to the deity Set, kind of jackal kind of face, what have you. All right. I would like to say exactly what I mean by magic and the magical interpretation of so-called reality. Okay, so he's trying to define reality as not moral reality and mental clarity, right? This guy was not only a junkie, he made a novel called Junkie. Okay, and he was very influential on the Beat generation. Okay, beating someone up, right? And he talks about occult cut-ups. Okay, again, cutting something, slicing somebody, stabbing somebody. No matter how you slice it, it's clear cut. Okay, the Beat generation. Okay, it's also dancing to the devil's tune. Okay, And of course, he believes in cut up. So according to his own kind of beliefs, his own stated beliefs, that cut up is fair to interpret the way I have because of the evidence and the logical words that fit the situation that we can get from the wordplay on those words. All right. The underlying assumption of magic is the assertion of will as the primary moving force in this universe. The deep conviction that nothing happens unless somebody or something or some being wills it to happen. Okay, somebody or some being. So instead of him doing God's will, okay, he's doing magic, which in Revelations is a huge sin that gets people outside the gates. Outside the gates are the sorcerers, right? Those who practice falsehood. He's practicing falsehood. He's trying to get the will of the sex cults and the corporations and the European governing class, the global governing class, what have you, which is very much centered in Europe. The reason why it's a communist party in China and North Korea. These are Western philosophies that come from Germany, right? Communism in its current form has its roots in German communism, Marx and Engels, okay, who were inspired by Hegel. And they're a bunch of kind of atheist Jews of sorts, for whatever reason. Okay. All right. So again, the underlying assumption of magic is the assertion of will as the primary moving force, right? The creative force, the moving force in this universe. The deep conviction that nothing happens unless somebody or some being wills it to happen. So again, remember, spirit has been defined as the dominating principle, okay? The dominating force, the prevailing tendency, the prevailing force, okay? So when they're saying the moving force, he's talking about altering the spirit of humanity, using the English definition of a spirit, okay? And the spirit is basically actually a sort of, it's a supernatural force, right? It's the essence of natural. It's supernatural. It's unseen. It's something you can't measure with science. You can observe to some degree with parts of your brain, okay, and with your being to some degree. And if you're not truly in reality, you don't truly appreciate what righteousness is, and you don't truly see the Spirit of God with your mind's eye, and no science can ever change that. You can hack my brain and map my brain all you want, okay? But if you're not moral yourself, you're going to be blinded by your immorality. And therefore, no one will ever see God after I'm gone, okay? They'll just think they do, and have scientific gimmicks. To me, because there's no way to be righteous and just, okay? They'll all be from bad trees that bear bad fruit that are devolving, and there'll be no way back because they'll have cheated the righteous to that point. Anyway, to me, this has always seemed self-evident. From the viewpoint of magic, no death, no illness, no misfortune, accident, war, or riot is accidental. There are no accidents in the world of magic, okay? So that means when you meet somebody, right? He used the example of meeting somebody, right? I believe if you run into somebody in the streets, it's for a reason, right? And that has to do with controlling women. They want the guys who are the type of people who are likely to go into magic, right? Kind of nerds, kind of, they meet somebody and say, wow, I met somebody really great, say this chick right here, and I don't think it's a coincidence, right? I believe in burrows, you know what I'm saying? So they have all these guys going, yes, it was for a reason, and I'm famous for a reason, and the mask's like, hi, I'm your magical soulmate, okay? And it's some bitch-ass fucking shit that there's no excuse for, that God despises with all of his being. And that's why God sent the top martial artists ever to come down and say, who's coming out of Babylon's system? Who's staying? Okay, who's going to keep rebelling and not obey God through me? Okay, and it's going to really, if I get angry, and obviously I get angry, imagine how much the essence of my anger is. The essence of my soul, the essence of my anger, okay, is waiting for all rebels to punish them to the extreme. I can't stress this enough. My soul is the type of being that does not play around. It is in God's right hand and intends to punish everyone to the extreme. And I'm not, making empty threats or something. This is the reality of the situation. I challenge you to rally and start to obey God through me. If you feel like I'm asking you to do something wrong, okay, then you can feel free to leave. Okay, no one's forcing you. I don't ask for collateral or anything like that. If you feel like you're being told to do something wrong, you can leave. But you're gonna, if you came, you'd see that I'm right. You'd see that my logic is sound. That one of my core doctrines is the no viable counterargument doctrine and the sound conclusion doctrine. Okay? That's part of moral precision, the precise way. I walk in the way of righteousness along the path of justice. How? By going the distance to make sure that that's the right thing to do. All right. And then, one of the first things I set up was a moral committee to overkill that. Okay. where we're here. And again, they have no viable counter argument for why they're not doing that. They're not going to rally. Why? Because they're evil. There was no idle passing interest. Burroughs also actively practiced magic in his everyday life, seeking out mystical visions through practicing like scrying. Notice the word scrying is like crying, right? They're trying to break you down, right? Trauma-based mind control. Okay, remember this guy applied, according to their own Wikipedia argument, he applied to the Office of Strategic Services, right? These guys become the CIA, the FBI, and so on and so forth, okay? So anyway, taking measures to protect himself from possession and attempting to lay curses on those who had crossed him. So he's trying to curse them. Now, if you're in a secret society and you're doing things behind the scenes with the FBI and police and the code of silence, that's why there's a code of silence. It's the magical code of the occult state. That's why the police have this funny symbol as their badge, you know, all these police fraternal organizations, all these police Freemasons, okay, military Masons, military, cults, I forgot some of their name, but there's military kind of fraternities, they deal in this stuff. And it's for sexual control first and foremost. The white man already has all the money. And it's easy when you have all the money and all the guns to keep the money. They want to control you to the fullest, and they use psychology and quote-unquote magic, which really is magic tricks, right? That's why I say, since the word magic, right, quote-unquote, because it's just magic tricks. Burroughs spoke openly about his magical practices, and his engagement with the occult is attested from a multitude of interviews as well as personal accounts from those who knew him. This is part of why Houdini was famous, Mickey Mouse and Fantasia, right? People are on some sissy, coward, wig-wearing, manifest destiny, kind of, oh, yes, we do magic, yes, Matt, I am the magician. Don't mess with me, boy. I'm a magician. What, you're thinking about messing with me? But I'm a magician. I too was a Freemason and a magician, right? The craft and witchcraft and so on and so forth, being crafty, craftiness, right? The snake is cunning and crafty. Okay. Biographer Ted Morgan has argued. Okay, let's go back here. Burroughs spoke openly about his magical practice and engagement with the occult is attested from a multitude of interviews, as well as personal accounts from those who knew him. Okay, this is not conspiracy theory. It's well documented. Okay? This guy went to Harvard. Okay? You think people don't listen to him when they're talking about trust science and expert power? He's like saying trust the occult science. That's really what the state is saying. Trust Eurocentric, white supremacist, Jewish supremacist, LGBT, highly political occult science and how they twist it through the various intelligence apparatuses and think tanks and their massive network. Biographer Ted Morgan has argued that as the single most important thing about Graham Greene was his viewpoint as a lapsed Catholic, the single most important thing about Burroughs was his belief in the magical universe. The same impulse that led him to put out curses was as he sought the source of his writing. To Burroughs, behind everyday reality, there was reality of the spirit world, of psychic visions, of curses, of possessions, and phantom beings. And he brings together all these rock and roll people, all these occultists, emos, goths. They all have that kind of those shared cultural values. And they go right into the fraternities, the Greek societies, Hecate, Hebe. These were magicians, Circe. These were witches in the Greek mythology system. So we can easily say that Greek societies, we can say all these churches that have, all the churches where we get the word from Circe, right, Kirk? Circe, play on words for Circe, called cut up. The reason why they don't do the right thing and they join political parties and they just spit propaganda, okay? This is Western culture. The core of it is sexual sadism, pedo-sadism, the occult, Eurocentrism, eugenics. These are the cores of Western culture. Look up postmodernism and modernism. And ask yourself, what tree did they come from? You do enough research, it is crystal clear that this is not a conspiracy theory. This is something that scholars who bother to go the distance are well aware of. They're well aware that the system is a magic trick, kind of Babylon, never grew up system of evil. And no culture is allowed unless it's evil. That's why they came up with the phrase cancel culture. Okay, the conservatives are like the wig-wearing guys. Okay, they are conserving that occult thinking. All the cults that came to America, for example. Okay, liberals just happen to encompass some groups that try to actually, historically at times perhaps, try to actually argue for women's rights. So they said you got to cancel whatever liberal culture that is not consistent with rape by deception, magic trick bullshit. Okay. So that every culture there is rape by deception, magic trick bullshit. Thank you.